Welcome to the Sports Betting Podcast from pregame.com for the week of December 2nd, 2009. I'm your host, RJ Bell. I'm joined by Vegas Runner, genuine professional bettor here in Las Vegas, Marco D'Angelo, 30 years in the business. This is segment 4 of 6, big game preview, NFL. We got the Colts and the Titans. VR, tell us about the line in this game.
All right, this one opened with Indy as a 7.5-point home favorite at Chris. Money came in right away on Indianapolis when every other offshore book opened. They opened it at 7 with a total of 47. As of today, Indy's down to 6.5, and the total's still 47.
All right, so trying to define the meaning of this move, we know Indy is a marquee team.
Correct.
So anytime the wise guys bet against a marquee team, you can be pretty sure it's a serious move.
Yeah, they're not trying to beat the public to the better number.
Okay, so wise guys like Tennessee
For
here.
sure.
All right, we got our own wise guy. Marco, what do you think of this game? What jumps out at you?
Well, the fact that Indianapolis, they remain undefeated, but their last 5 games, still, they've only won by a total of 18 points. That's 5 wins, 18 points. They're just doing enough to get by, and you keep waiting for them to slip up. I mean, last week they were down 17-0 early to Houston and ended up coming back and actually had a 14-point lead in the fourth quarter.
That's why, not to interrupt you, but even though Indy's 11-0, 7-3-1 against the spread, the last 4 weeks, speaking to bookmakers, 3 of the 4 weeks, the public came in against the Colts. They came in against them against New England, and twice against Houston when they were giving up all them points.
It doesn't seem like this team, like you said, a marquee team like Indy to be up so big ATS on the year is a sign that they're overperforming. I mean, let's be honest, entering the year with the coaching change.
No one thought 11-0.
Yeah, for sure not. So what I've been thinking about is, and this is something that is a little bit sophisticated, but you can bet, as you guys know, first halves in a game.
Correct.
My question is, if you really think about it, who in the world wouldn't want to, if you're going to fade Indy, why not play their opponent only
early
in the first half? Say, okay, and typically, though it can vary a little bit, that first half line is going to be half of the game line. So if Indy's laying 7, they might be laying 3.5. Now, for the first half, around key numbers, sometimes they'll adjust that half rule that we just talked about. But man, I wonder, and I didn't do the work on it, I wonder what the ATS record is for the Colts in the first half. I would be willing to bet it's less than 50%.
I would probably have to agree with you. I know in the last few weeks, they have not been, because they fell behind last week. They fell behind against New England on that Sunday night game. The Baltimore game, they had a lead early, and then Baltimore took the lead, and then they came back. So, I mean, they
haven't dominated, except for that first game against Houston where they gave up a lead in the second half. They haven't been blowing teams away in the first half. You're absolutely right.
All right, so, and by the way, if you're just betting with your local and chances are he's not offering you a first half option, you can go to pregameaction.com and check out some of the best online sports books, and who all of them offer a first half option. Okay, now Tennessee, what do we think of this team? So VR, when you look at this Tennessee team, how do you split up the reality of the 0-6 start and then the 5-0 run?
That's the difficulty I'm having, because I'm a statistical driven handicapper. It's numbers for me more than anything else, and the numbers don't add up to what I've been seeing lately. What I mean is, you look at their defense and they're 29th in points allowed. So there's only 2 teams giving up more points than them. But in the last 5 weeks, only one time have they allowed more than 17 points. So how could I work these numbers correctly? Do you throw away the first half of the season and just use the last 5 weeks?
Well, I think what makes it where the public is more in love with this resurgent Tennessee team is that the winning began right when the quarterback changed.
Exactly.
And it's not as if, they lost 6 and won 5, which in general still would have a following, that 5-game win streak. But the fact that it happened with the quarterback change, and this is a quarterback a lot of people believed in at the beginning, the 3rd pick in the draft, if I remember correctly, from a few years ago. So I think people are almost like, wow, if you polled the public and said, eventually Vince Young had started the season, what would their record be? I bet a lot of people would think this Tennessee team would have far less than 6 losses. I'm not sure I agree with that, but I do think they have a momentum and they have some team spirit. The fact that they're talking about the playoffs at 10-6, until they lose that first game with Vince Young, there might be a deflation. But right now, if they can go 10-6, which they can mathematically, I can't imagine that there's any team as motivated or more motivated than Tennessee right now.
And after last week's 99-yard drive, I mean, the team believes in him. I mean, he converted, I think, 2 or 3 fourth down plays.
In that drive.
The game winner on fourth down. But one thing you said about the defense, what correlates to the better defense is the offense is more efficient. Since Vince Young has taken over, they are more efficient on offense. They're keeping the ball longer. They're not having as many 3-and-out drives. So if your offense is on the field longer, automatically your defense is on the field less. And their defense did have injuries early in the year that they got people back later in the season too that's helped shore up that defense. But one interesting note I have, the best quarterback that they've faced in this 5-game winning streak has been Matt Schaub. That's not a big statement.
Yeah, they're 31st in the NFL in passing yards allowed, and now they're going against Peyton.
So getting into the fundamental handicap here, we got this Tennessee team, which its one weakness, or its main weakness on D, is pass defense against Peyton Manning. So in that regard, you got to like the Colts here in that it is strength against weakness, which leans you towards the Colts. So really, we've been talking back and forth. What's your lean, Marco?
I leaned to Indianapolis in this game, and the only reason I didn't make it an official pick here on the podcast was I respect that line move coming down to 6.5. Coming off of 7 to 6.5 early in the week, you gotta, that causes me pause. Sharp money came in on Tennessee, but like you said, VR, every week they've been betting against Indianapolis.
Correct.
Where's your lean?
I lean Indianapolis as well for this reason, but I'm not ready to bet him yet because of this also. Peyton Manning threw for 300 yards against them the first time. He'll be able to do that again. But on the Tennessee side, first time they played, Lendell White was the running back. He was the feature back, and Chris Johnson only had 30 yards, not even 20 yards, something like that. This time around, Indy's going to be forced to face Chris Johnson, who I think's one of the best running backs, if not the second best running back in the NFL behind Adrian Peterson. So that's where my hesitation is in backing the Colts here. How are they going to stop Johnson?
All right, so speaking of the fact this is the second time this team has played, and interdivision rivalry, out of the last 9 games in this matchup, 8 have gone under the total. So for whatever reason, and though we have a coaching change with the Colts, it seems like the system is very much the same. Right. So we have Jeff Fisher's been there many years. We have this Colts system many years. Certainly throughout the last 4.5, which would be 9 games, this has been the same systems that have gone under 8 of 9 times. So I have a strong lean towards the under here. I just think mathematically, when you're 8-1 like this, this is a significant trend, I think.
I agree with you 100%. I thought it was inflated, especially looking at these two teams. Neither of them let up more than 17 points. I mean, the Indies let up more than 17 twice in the last 11 games, and Tennessee once in the last 5 or 6 games. So
all right, good stuff. Now real quick, I actually did a press release on the Colts' chance of going undefeated, which we figured to be 28%, which is not as high as most people would expect. You can check that out at pregame.com. Just click the blog section. Okay, you can get all of our video. Well, actually, next up is we're going to be talking more NFL, Dallas and the Giants. And you can get all of our videos at pregame.tv, or if you want to download and listen, just go to iTunes and search for pregame.com.